Okay, so in this chapter, we're going to go over the initial Hybrido setup and everything. So let's go ahead and start this good stuff here. And again, I'm not covering a bunch of stuff inside Realflow, so don't be too worried about all these buttons and stuff over. We're just going to go over what we need really. And also, this stuff over here is not proprietary, but was some stuff that we scripted here at Blur. So don't worry about those. These won't show up on your Realflow install. So let's go ahead and start this. So over here we have our Hybrido menu. In order to get this going, we need to make a domain. So let's click a domain here and just leave this there. And let's click the emitter here and come up here and click emitter. And by default, none of this stuff is connected, right? But we have this emitter now, object emitter. Let's go here and make sure everything's kosher, node, yep, okay. So if we wanted to change it, we select this, we go to none, go back in here, it's empty, go to emitter, okay. If we weren't to select our emitter and then make that, it would have been empty, and we just go up here and do what we just did. So the setting, I'll go over these settings here with what we need to do in order to make this work. Stream, we want it to go no. If we put yes to this, it would have a stream of fluids coming out. Basically what this does is it makes fluids for one frame and that's it. And also if you ever get lost with this stuff in here, or what a setting does, is click on it, click on the setting, or the setting here, or parameter, and press F1, and it will give you a little help card about what this setting does. So we want to leave this to no, initial speed to 0. This surface particle sampling, essentially we're going to leave this to 2 for now. What this does is it basically adds more particles in the voxels to make our sim look better without increasing the resolution. And it's only in the surface. So how this works, so let's go over this kind of quickly. Let's go to view side and make this wireframe. Put the grid on. This surface, what this does is it finds the fluid distance field, and it basically says, hey, well, this is the surface, so it just gets the outer points of the simulation, and then we can say that's where the more sampling is going to be happening, right? And the bandwidth is the world units, so this is a 0.1, so it's a tenth of a meter, right? And we can make it bigger or smaller. The same thing with the core sampling. The core is the inverse of the surface, so it's whatever's not in the surface. But a lot of times I just leave this stuff at default for now. I don't ever really change this. We probably won't be changing it in this class, just so things run faster. We probably have a kind of a lower res sim going during this whole thing. Jittering. Jittering just jitters the particles. If we put this to 0, it'd be very grid-like, and it comes default again at 1. I'll just leave it at 1. And this is the noise seed, so just leave kind of everything at 1. But now if we were to simulate this right now, it would just emit, and I'll just go ahead and do that really quickly and show you. Let's go ahead and sim. Yeah, nothing is happening at all. I mean, it's just we don't have anything connected. So I'm going to reset this guy. In order for this stuff to work right, we need to connect this stuff up in this relationship editor. So I'm going to here and just control left click, and now the relationship editor, if we go ahead and sim it now, we're getting the data from the emitter to the domain, and it's going to take a little longer. First frame is always rather long, so let's go ahead and get this out. And also we'll do command line sim too, instead of this actual like sim button thing here, to see how long it takes. It takes quite a while. Yeah, so it's because there's a lot of particles and it's probably pretty high res, so go ahead and stop that. It's still kind of thinking because everything's gray. Let's see, I wonder how many particles this is going to be. I think it's going to be quite a bit. There we go. Yeah, so at 2.6 million particles. So let's go into perspective view here. Yeah, it's just this. You wouldn't want to do any sort of like This is too many particles to start out with. So let's go ahead and just reset this dude, and I'll show you a faster way to sim too. From now on, I won't be doing this. I'll be doing this command line sim. So if we click on here, and then sim, will be good. You know, so it's a lot faster. In fact, I'll just show you really quickly. Comes up this guy here. It's gonna take a second. It is quite a bit faster than the GUI version. This is the non-GUI version. And before, in the past, we'd have to script it all, so it's a little bit faster. And it also tells you how many particles and all that good stuff. So let's go ahead and reset that. Make sure everything's cool. Okay. So now I'm gonna go into my domain here, and I'm gonna go back and forth on some of this stuff here. The cell size, I'm gonna go ahead and just put this to 0.5, and we're going to add some forces, and we're going to connect our tank to this as well, because right now it would just float through the air. It wouldn't it would just float there, and it wouldn't have any interaction with anything. So we want the tank to be connected. So control left click, now we can see that this is affected by this, and also our tentacle, which we won't connect for right now. We want to make sure we get the initial state of this fluid right first. So let's go in to our domain again. And in fact, let's just simulate this really quick just to see what kind of problems we're going to have. I'll go ahead and pause this real quick. Okay, so it started simming up here. And let's go ahead and close this. And in order to see, right now, there's nothing happening, right? So we want to come over to this button here, and this is updates timeline cache. What this does is it grabs the cache and lets us see it. Scrub it back there. Frame 1. Frame. Okay. So we have like about 500,000 particles in here now. Let's see. Oh, so we already have a bit of an issue. This isn't like flush with this surface. And I'll show you how to fix that. So it wouldn't really be a problem necessarily for this sort of thing, because it's just a water tank, right? But I'll show you how to kind of fix that. There's a couple different ways we can do that, and I'll do that right now. So let's go ahead and reset this. And we're going to go for volumes now in here inside Realflow. How Hybrido works with Geo. So in tank, we click our tank guy here. We want to go to this volume tab. And so these volumes are independent of the resolution. Right now it's 0.3. And you can't really, there's a way to visualize this too. So let's go down here to display volume. Yes, and you can see where the collision is at, right? I don't like this ramp though. Let's go to mask, it's a lot clearer. So now if we go ahead and let's go ahead and populate this guy again real quick. And then go a frame forward. You can see the collision there right now. So let's go ahead and back this up some. There's a couple different ways we can do this. We can either res this up, our cell size, or we can do like an surface offset. So let's see, 0.1. Just try like something crazy. Yeah, so if we can make it bigger like that. Let's try -1. Is that not working? Is it -0.5 maybe? Yeah, so we can kind of inverse it some, but it's barely in there. So it's negative. Oh, that's not. That's kind of doing the opposite there. Weird. But what I like to usually end up doing anyways is the cell size, because it doesn't really slow things down. And it takes a little bit while to update. So now it's a little closer, a little thinner there. Yeah, so we can just do the shell here. This becomes by default. It does a pretty good job predicting. We could do solid inside. I don't think it's gonna work. Yeah, so this is now it's all solid. This red is solid, green is not. Let's keep this a shell. Okay, so you know. And I'll grab my emitter too. And let's put this 0.1 as well. now if we go ahead and reset this and sim it, I'll go ahead and pause this while it sims. Okay, came back here. Let's go ahead and populate our timeline. Go frame. And now you can see it's a little closer. We can make it completely flush if we want by doing this, getting it closer and closer, or up-resing it a little bit more. But you know, we don't really need to for these purposes. And we'll kind of get into that when I put the tentacle in there. And you can notice it kind of slows the scene down with this guy on. Just go and turn it off. There it gets a lot faster. And that's going to work for what we need now. So now what we're going to end up doing is making a couple daemons, or forces, for the water. Let's go ahead and click on our daemons menu, or demons, whatever you want to say it. The first thing we really need to do is make a gravity. So let's throw a gravity in there. And just control the clicker away. So there's another way to do all this stuff too if you want. I kind of do it this way in this relationship editor, but if you come to here and press tab, you can make stuff through here too, which is pretty cool. Or you can add a hub. And hub is basically the equivalent, if you use the old Realflow, or older versions of Realflow, is the global links equivalent. And what we're doing now is it's local links essentially, or exclusive links, I mean. So if we could connect everything into this hub, and everything is affected by each other. But so we don't. I kind of do it this way, so you can just kind of keep it cleaner. So we got our gravity on there, and now if we were to sim this, it would kind of like, you know, move a little bit because it has gravity. But let's go ahead and start sticking our tentacle dude in there and everything. Oops. And turn on. Let's go look at it real quick. Let's go with this. No, in fact, I wanted to hide these two guys here and just keep the tentacle on. We know our tank is there, and it still affects everything. And in fact, too, whoops, what was that guy? Crashed in here. Oh, I see. Yeah, so this guy. No, here. Oops. And yeah, okay, cool. I thought he just crashed real flood for a second. So yeah, we know that it's still working, but I want to go ahead and make a simulation tab as well, and throw this in there. Let's put in call it flip, because we're gonna have our splash and our foam stuff what we need to deal with, and this is a good way to manage it as well. So this green light means sim. This means we'll grab just the cache, and this basically means turn it off. We're not going to sim it. And this is export data selected, or don't export data. It's pretty handy. So we got our dude in there. We got our tank. And our emitter we can just leave off to the side because we don't want that to interact with anything. So let's go ahead and go to our domain again and make this just a little bit more rough, so it'll go pretty fast. And I'm going to go over these right now as well, this adaptive and all this stuff. I'm leaving this at adaptive for now. A dense would work better for this. Adaptive essentially works really well with the GPU accelerated simulation stuff, but I'm not really using that. It's kind of it doesn't always work essentially, and when it does, it's really awesome. But it's basically uses your video card to sim with, and it's really fast when it does work. But I'm not going to use it for this, and I'll just show you quickly where that's at. Go to options here, and I'm actually going to turn down the substeps 2 for now. Whoops. Let's up in options. It's OpenCL, and to see if you can use it, just go to system information. Make sure that you have 1.1 OpenCL installed on your video card, and it'll work. Well, it should work. It just depends. Sometimes it doesn't work as fast as you think it would work. So anyways, we won't be going over that too much anyways. So okay. But so adaptive essentially, if we had like a stream of water moving around and stuff, that's really good for that, you know, because it'd only be calculating like in this one little spot here, here, and here. It's kind of, you know, adaptive in that sense. But dense isn't. Dense is kind of like we just have our tank of water, and we're not adding any more water to it necessarily, so it just uses just sims that way. And I usually use it dense for this sort of setup, but for now, we'll just use adaptive because it's pretty low res and we don't really need to mess with that too much. A couple quick things here. Let's conserve volume. We'll turn to yes. But the problem with a lot of flip solvers is that the fluids are compressible, and so they collapse. And what this does is it conserves the volume of the fluids, so that way you don't have that weird bouncy effect all the time. Sampling control. This is basically just it controls the amount of particles via sampling. I would just kind of turn this off. I don't mess with this too much. This vorticity boost. You can add a little more turbulence to it. I'm gonna press F1. Yeah. I usually, for this, I'm not gonna mess with it. Just leave it at 0. Track lonely particles. I like this one. I like the name of it. I always stick this to yes, and I'll put this to like 1 and 3. So this is frames. So if it has like a little particle out that flies off to nowhere, it'll track it and kill it. So let's go ahead and just start the sim real quick. Let's see what our initial setup is going to look like. So I'm going to go ahead and sim this, and while this sims, I'll pause it. Okay. So let's see what we have. Let's do a couple frames here. You can see that the volume on this guy is a little thick. You can see that it's already touching the water there. So I'm going to go ahead and come into our tentacle dude and go our volume. I'm just going to make this 0.1 as well. That'll be fine. I'm not going to get too crazy with this either. Let's go ahead and reset this. I'm going to go ahead and sim this out a little bit and see how it looks. And so I'll pause this now and be right back. So go ahead and sim this. And okay, so we got this simmed out, and while I was paused, I changed a couple settings really quickly, just because the fluid was kind of exploding. And I'll go ahead and show you what I changed, and actually sped up the sim quite a bit. Actually doubled the speed. So I went in the tank here. I ended up changing this back to 0.3 for now. We don't really need super accurate collisions right now, because we really just want to find the motion, make sure the motion and everything is okay with this, you know. Let's see what else we change here on this tentacle. I'll put this back to 0.3 as well, and the emitter is still 0.1. We can actually change this to 0.3 as well. So yeah, and that's what I changed, and it sped up quite a bit. So I only did about 50 frames of this sim though, so let's check it out here. So yeah, it's starting to look pretty cool. Kind of getting that nice splash look, you know. And keep in mind too, this is a very, very low res sim, but you kind of get the idea how this is going to move through here now. So I'm pretty satisfied with that, you know. I'll probably go ahead and sim out some more of this, but there's a few things I want to change in here in the settings, so we can get more clinging particles to this guy. We want like trailing off more. So let's go into our dude here. Go with the grid interaction and put this grid friction. I'll put this like to let's try 0.5. And this bandwidth is the distance at which it will detect the friction. And I usually keep this at 1 for now. I don't really need to mess with this too much unless we're getting like some weird results. An interaction factor. This is pretty cool. This is animatable, so we can actually have it more turbulent as it's coming up. Actually, let's do this. Let's do that. Let's go ahead and see what frame it starts to breach. It's like right around 13. So let's go ahead and just put this to like say 2, and then let's do 19, 30, 40. Okay, so let's make a key, add a key here, and use a right click, add a key, and then let's go to, let's do like 40, and put this back down to 1, and just add key. Let's go to reset this. Let's make sure that it is animating. Yep, so it's animating. So let's go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and pause this again. If I were to not pause this every time, it would be quite a long class. So I'm going to go ahead and pause this, send this, and see what results we get with these new settings. Simulate it. And okay, so we got about 55 frames here that have simmed. Let's go ahead and look at them. Skip ahead. And also keep in mind, you don't have to do the whole thing. You know, for this sort of thing, you want, because it would take you all day, you know, so it's like, you would be sitting here all day just waiting for this one sim, even if it's low res, you know, if each frame takes 10 seconds, you know, it's a really long sim. Like this is 250 frames, so it'll take a while, but you kind of get the idea, the general idea of how it's going to look pretty quick. This is a little too much interaction factor here. It's kind of neat, but I think what we had before was working pretty well. It's kind of cool, like crown splashy looking thing, but I'm just gonna go ahead and open this curve. Just take this down to like, I mean, it's a little bit higher, get a little bit more of that, and go back into our tentacle here. Just a 0.6. And again, I'm going to go ahead and sim this and pause it and see what these little settings do here. Reset this. I'll show you guys something though really quickly. So if we go ahead and sim this, let's say you're doing this, you're simming your stuff here, but you want to see what's going on. You can still have that going and just populate the timeline, and you can scrub it, and it'll update then with your cache. So I'm going to go ahead and it's going pretty quick. I can go ahead and pause this and it'll be right back again. Alright, we're back. Let's go ahead and check this out here. Let's see. Yeah, so we get a little more grab to the fluids there. So this is pretty cool. This is kind of what I'm looking for as far as all this goes. I'm going to end up adding some more daemons here in a second to show you guys what else we need to do to make this look cool. And what's really cool about this flip stuff is that it's pretty scalable, and that basically means if we do a low res sim with this motion, we can keep the motion pretty well intact and not have it go crazy, you know, like do something completely different we didn't expect. Okay, so we're going ahead and add some more daemons and stuff in here to see what so we can kind of like, you know, get a better looking fluid and at the end here. Let's go up here. What I like to usually do too is just add a drag force by default, and I'll leave it at default settings. If we want this to, basically what the drag force is going to do is kind of like slow the particles down as they go through the air. It's essentially adding, drag, or almost like a viscosity to the fluids. Another thing too is we're going to optimize this a little bit here. So as you can see, if this were to go around and once the water hits over the edge, it'll fall over and stuff. We're going to make a box here so we can kill those particles off. So we're going to go ahead and do that. It's kill volume. What we can do here is select the kill volume. We can just get fit to the scene. It should work pretty well. Do is like bring this down. Anything outside of this box, these particles will then die or be deleted. There's another way, I guess you could say it. Move this to somewhere like this. You know, make it a little bit bigger. We know that the particles will probably come off and get killed over there. So, let's see here. Put this guy in there, and also we'll do a little housekeeping over here. So we can take all these daemons here, just with this, and make sure you connect that. Control F click, So what I'll do here is select all of them. You can come up here and group selected nodes. And it makes a group. You can just rename it there or rename it here. I'm so used to doing it up there. And I'll just put name as forces. Now let's say you wanted to get into this. You can either come up here and change it, or you can come in here and go double click and change it through here. So double click it again, and it just kind of keeps things nice and neat. You can kind of do the same with your geometry as well. So I'll probably do real quick. So we'll go in here, create a group, right click, rename, and I'll just put geo. And I'll leave this like that. So now it's nice and neat and clean. Again, I'm not really gonna go over much of these settings up here. I just don't really have time to do all this stuff, but you can add a new node there. Again, tab is pretty cool. It's tab, you can type through the tab, objects and all this stuff, so it works. It's pretty nice. So what we got so far is pretty cool. What I'm going to end up doing now is I'll go ahead and I'm going to up-res this a little bit to make sure we don't get anything crazy, and go ahead and send this out again with a lot more particles, or not a lot, but a few more, just to make sure we're on the right path and make sure that the motion's looking right with the drag force, which I'm not too concerned about, and all that good stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Start simming this, and oops, you know what, go back into here. We'll split this to 0.4. And we'll change this to dense for now. Yeah, and then go ahead and reset it and simulate, and I will be back. Okay, so let's play this again here and see what we get. A lot more particles, you can see here. So yeah, we're getting a lot of cool detail now in there. Nice sheeting effect into there, you know. A giant tentacle coming out of the water. Cool, yeah, this is awesome. So we're getting a lot more detail in there, what we wanted. And actually the volume works pretty well. I'll probably up-res this, the volume, for the final sim. Well, we probably won't do a really high-res sim in this class, just because of the time constraints, you know. You know, this is pretty cool. So I'll also show you a couple more little tricks here to visualize this stuff better for you as well. If you go into this domain here, and we'll go over some of these settings as well when we need to. There's a couple things in the display that are pretty important for this. We can do display type point arrow. This is, let's see, it's gonna be a lot slower though. Hopefully I didn't crash it. Back in here. Oh, it's not gonna do it. Oh well. Let me try it again though. There it goes. So it's all crazy. It's basically just showing you the arrow directions. We can try to bring this to 0.1. 0.01. Yeah, so a lot. So you can kind of see the vectors of the fluid. It's back to point here. Spheres they're just spheres. I'm not going to do that because it slows way down. But we can do particle percentage too. It's back to 1. Actually, you can put this to 2. It'll get nice and big as well. It's to 1. This is pretty handy for when you want to just speed up your scene as well. Look at what particle, like 1% maybe. It's tiny. It's not very much in there at all. But yeah, so cool. Go back to 100. So right now, what we're seeing in this color channel here is the velocity. What we can do is this automatic range is on no by default. If we go to yes, what it does is Realflow will grab the fastest fluid here, or the particle, and say, oh, this is the max range, and this is the slowest, so it grabs the slowest particle within there. So let's go with this to no, and what sometimes I'll do is I'll make this darker, and you can like mess with this and put this up to 10, get like a softer look to it if you want. It depends on what you want to, how you want to see it. You can change this to white. Okay. Bring this back to like maybe, I don't know, but that's kind of cool to play with. Brings it darker again, so we're going to get that nice contrast so you can really see where the motion is at in this fluid. It's back to 5, or oops, oh, it's hiding for me there. Okay. It's fine, it's good. But yeah, you can totally mess with that and the colors and the clamp there and all that good stuff. But if you do have other stuff, we can you can do velocity just in the Z, the different properties here, and just the Y or X or the magnitude all together. Vorticity, if we were to calculate it, will be nothing now. We're not calculating any vorticity or normals. We can do a constant color. The splash foam emission shows you where that's going to be emitted from. I think, yeah. I think we have to have our stuff on there for this to work. I never really use this splash foam emission thing. Let's go to velocity. Get a pretty good idea how that works. Speaking of splash and foam, that's going to be the next chapter, and we're going to start adding some more detail. But before this next chapter, I'm going to go ahead and just do a little bit higher res sim. Maybe come in here and even come our emitter here and put our surface sampling maybe to like 3. Be careful with this number 2. Don't be crazy because it's exponential. So you know, just one at a time is really good. So I'll do that, and we'll go on to this next chapter and show you how to add splash and foam to your simulation to really give it that extra detail and realism.